Hey everybody, good morning. Hope you're doing well. I wanted to take some time today because I've been tasked with this topic a lot and looked at strategies around this, and I want to talk to you about final mile. So let's dive into it, okay? And final mile is a pretty simple concept, but yet there is some complexity that surrounds it, okay? So when you think about your final mile, right, let's just take either a factory or a distribution center, okay? And you're going to deliver that product to the end customer, okay? And if you think about it, I don't want to diminish other parts of the supply chain, but this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, or this is really where you get that opportunity, if you will, to prove your worth to that customer, okay? So let's look at some of the challenges, if you will, when you're talking about this. So you could think about this as, and again, depending where your customer is, maybe it's not a traditional business. Maybe, let's use Amazon, for example, because they're, pretty big, right? You're delivering to a home. So you're not going to put that product on a tractor trailer and come down a residential road. You're going to use a small parcel carrier, or in this case, Amazon has their own drivers, or maybe they, contract out to UPS or FedEx, right? So what are some of the things that you might consider that even still going into these residential areas, or once a truck comes off the highway, what are some of the challenges they're facing? Well, traffic congestion, right? I can tell you that in my travels, I went out to California one time and I was driving on I-15, and it was to go 5 miles took almost a half hour. So traffic congestion is one, okay? What's another one? Failed deliveries. Right? What do I mean by that? Failed deliveries. So let's just say you're delivering to a customer's home. They're not there. In some cases, UPS and FedEx, they'll leave a product there. But what if it's something that's high value, okay? In that case, more than likely what they might do is you might have to coordinate with your customer that lives in a residential area. Hey, when are you going to be home? Because I need to drop this off. So someone's there to actually bring the product inside and sign for it. Now, if you're delivering to a traditional warehouse for your customer, there's going to be a dock, there's going to be personnel there, so it's not a problem. But how do you think about the customer, right? Because again, they don't have those accommodations, if you will, right? What else could we talk about? High costs, all right, for final mile delivery. Now, what I've done, and we'll talk about in the next section, is there's ways you can kind of spread those costs out and reduce some of that expense, right? So if you think about it, when Amazon ships product to your house, for example, let's just say you're a Prime member and you have 2 days. It's with Prime is when you get your product. But maybe you need it sooner. Maybe you need it a day earlier. Well, in that case, you're going to pay for that, right? There's extra costs associated with that. So I want to talk about some of the strategies we'll look at and how we can kind of optimize the final mile, right? So now, and yes, I have some notes here that I'm looking at because I have to take notes for my lessons. So when we talk about failed deliveries and high costs, right? What are some of the ways we can offset that? Well, let's think about it. Let's erase this, okay? And let's talk about route optimization, okay? And so in my background, my experience, what we've done is we've done studies where we have customers that are shippers or manufacturers and distributors, and they have a customer base, right? And those customers will take a look at that, will identify where are they geographically located. And in some cases, what we found is if they're within a certain geographic region, okay, and let's just pick, let's say New England, for example, right? And there's 5 customers. If there's a way to possibly have their delivery dates aligned correctly, instead of sending 5 separate LTL shipments, what we've done in the past is we've combined all those 5 LTL shipments, we've aggregated, we've combined them, and we put them on a single truck, much like LTL does, and we make it a multi-stop. And in cases like that, we've found significant savings. So you have route optimization. Now, same concept. Let's just say you have a fleet of trucks. How do you know where you're going to deliver? How do you know when to deliver? Same thing. You're going to put that information into a routing software program, and it's going to show you how to deliver to those customers. And in some cases, the route software is sophisticated enough where it might be able to put in certain constraints, like this customer can only receive on a Tuesday. This customer can only receive 10 to 12. I'm just making things up. But those constraints, you know, because you have in your CRM, right, understanding what the customer needs, you can plug that into some of the software and give you an idea so that way you're being efficient, okay? In addition to the route optimization, you have the ability to really study your fleet. You're capturing that data. How long is a stop taking you, okay? What are you making on that stop? So you can kind of really drill down to understand your costs, okay? So route optimization is one. Next, we have local fulfillment centers. I totally botched the word fulfillment. Fulfillment centers, okay? And typically with these, right, these are closer, these are in residential areas, so that way you're cutting down your final mile costs. Because if you think about it, right, the further you have to go, the more your transportation costs are going to be. So when you have companies, for example, when they have, and I'm just going to try and make a map of the U.S., and that's pretty bad, but you have distribution centers, okay, here across the country in theory. Let's take look at this point here, right? So this can essentially serve, and it's like a hub and spoke model, right? It serves customers in this region. This location serves customers in this region. So if you didn't have all these distribution centers, right, in theory, now you're having to ship across country and your transportation costs are much more expensive. So companies will evaluate their networks, figure out where their customers are, look at future sales, where future customers could be, and they specifically identify these markets and put either warehouses there, or they'll lease warehouse space to cut down that final mile cost. Okay, that's another way you can look, all right? From a customer service perspective, and we've all seen this, right? Real-time tracking. So when you order something from Amazon or UPS, they have an app or they get an email notification. You can go and you can see exactly where that product is. Same thing for larger customers, right? They want to know, they want to understand where their product is because they're relying on that product on a larger scale. Maybe it's for their production lines because they're going to shut it down, or they need it because they have customer orders they have to fulfill. But I would say conversely too, for these smaller customers, you know, maybe, I don't know, they're ordering something for a school project they need. Maybe they're ordering something, maybe the customer here, for example, could be a HVAC technician and they're ordering a part for their air conditioner here that they need. So they got to know when it's going to arrive so they can schedule their labor to be at the customer's house. So real-time tracking is very important. And there's different ways that you can adopt this method, but something else, okay? And then you can also think about, I'm going to erase some of this so I can just make my notes here, partnering with couriers or 3PLs, okay? So when we talked about route optimization and things like that, maybe that's not, you know, in your wheelhouse. You don't have a fleet, you don't have time for that. Well, you can work with the 3PLs that they have the software where they can receive your customer orders in there and optimize those deliveries to see what makes sense and put a solid final mile strategy in place, okay? Same thing with couriers. So again, maybe you have smaller items coming out of the factory, the distribution center. FedEx, UPS makes multiple pickups. They have the software and they have the know-how in terms of how to schedule those deliveries to make the final mile cost as efficient as possible, all right? So when you think about, right, why this makes such a difference, in several videos you heard me talk about the 7 rights of logistics, right? Right product, right place, right price, right condition, all of those things. Well, when you factor in this, getting this part right is really crucial because, again, as you know, if you're not delivering to your customer on time, it's affecting their business, their customers. So this is very important. So I hope this kind of gave you a good overview of final mile. It's very generic, it's very simple, but some of the things that you want to consider and think about when you're crafting this sort of strategy that goes into your entire logistics strategy, which we'll talk about in another video. But again, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe and like, guys, and have a great day.